everyone, welcome to myself of Beanstalk, Max McGillivray. It's an absolute honor and pleasure today to have Marcela, the Director Partnerships for the Division of Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, the FAO. Marcela, say hello to everyone, please.
Hello, pleasure to be with you.
And as I said, we're very honored to have Marcela on today because it's a very, very special year this year. Marcela, do you want to just tell everyone why it is a special year this year, please?
International Year of Fruits and Vegetables.
Aha, and this is why I wanted to speak to Marcela, so we could get even more of an appreciation as to what the FAO and the UN have created. But Marcela, if it's okay, just before we get going into the background as to why the Year Fruit and Veg has come about, people on our podcast and on LinkedIn and YouTube, they love to hear a little bit about your background. So if it's okay, I'm just going to read out what we've managed to find out and a little bit of research about yourself and also the FAO and the Year Fruit and Veg. So you have a PhD in rural psychology from Cornell University and a BA/MA in systems and computing engineering from the University of Los Andes in Bogota. You're responsible for the implementation of the FAO's innovative strategies on partnerships with the private sector, civil society, academia, and research institutions. You coordinate the implementation of the voluntary guidelines on the responsible governance of tenure of land, fisheries, and forests in the context of national food security. The initiative on the principles for responsible investment in agriculture and the FAO's policy on indigenous people, the Milan Urban Front Policy Pact, the Urban Fronts Against Hunger Initiative, and the Decade of Family Farming, among others. What a role, what a job. The UN General Assembly designated 2021 the International Year of Fruits and Vegetables to raise awareness on the important role of fruits and veg in human nutrition, food security, and health, as well as in achieving sustainable development goals. The FAO, if you're not aware, is the lead agency for celebrating the year in collaboration with other relevant organizations and bodies of the UN system. So this year is a unique opportunity to raise awareness on the important role of fruit and vegetables in human nutrition, food security, and health, as well as in achieving the UN sustainability goals. And the lines of action, the main core lines of action for this campaign is advocacy and awareness raising, knowledge creation and dissemination, policy making, and capacity development and education. Marcela, I don't think I've ever met anyone such as yourself with so many role responsibilities, as well as taking on campaigns like this. How do you do it?
Well, I'm very much inspired by our mandate in the UN. I decided to be part of the UN when I was doing my PhD. I did want to serve the world. I wanted to make sure that whatever I do in my work life and in my life in general is to have a better world. For me, I grew up in a poor country in Colombia, and I really wanted to fight injustice. And I wanted everybody to have equality, women and men. So gender equality is very important for me. And I wanted the world to be a better world. So I decided to dedicate my life to the UN.
And this is fascinating because, as we were saying in the green room, we have a number of students who listen into these videos and these podcasts. What was that magic dust, do you think, when you were doing your PhD, that's made you think that I want to go down this route? I want to be aligned to the FAO, the UN, because you could have gone into politics, you could have gone into corporate life. What was that magic dust that made you want to make a difference?
Well, I think the UN is an effective organization in terms of reducing poverty, reducing hunger, and this is what really attracted me. You know, that poverty has been reduced effectively in the world. We have the idea that poverty is increasing, hunger is increasing, all these things, but actually if you look at the world back in the 1960s and you look at it today, you will see a leap ahead in terms, especially in poverty reduction. So the UN is the organization that's behind that.
Thank you, Marcela. I was going to ask you that direct question. So you're convinced that with that UN involvement, that you and your colleagues have actually done so much good since the 60s.
Yes, I am definitely convinced. I believe that without the UN, the world would be a different place. I know that there's a lot of imperfections, like in any organization. But I think that there's been an effective contribution to humanity, to people's lives, to creating a sense of justice for all. And also we have now the development agenda, the Sustainable Development Agenda, that has the motto of leave no one behind. That's fundamental for us.
Wow. Wow, that's so powerful. Leave no one behind. And the background to the UN, how was the UN created?
Well, the UN was created in the aftermath of the war, and the world decided we will not want to go into this situation again. This is the Second World War that cost so many lives and so much suffering. And then the countries got together and say, well, let's get together and make it work, especially not to go back into world war again.
Yeah, yeah. And you look at politics. Oh, Marcelo, you look at politics over the last couple of years, especially. I have to pick on to the likes of the disruption happening that might have happened of late in the likes of America. I think United Nations have done so well to have been this cohesive force since the 60s, and all the trials and tribulations that have occurred to still be standing and still to be strong. So are you convinced? Are you positive that the UN will still be here in 20, 30, 40, 50 years time, still doing this fantastic job that you're doing currently?
I'm convinced. I'm convinced the world needs the UN, I'm convinced in the end that the value that the UN brings to the world is going to ensure that we continue, especially working, helping the poorest countries in the world and the poorest people in the world.
Yeah, and I suppose within countries, governments change on a regular basis. But if there's always that safety net, that security of the UN overlooking, watching us, and as you point out, assisting those poorer countries, that we're all going to be in a good place on the back of that.
I'm sure we're going to be in a better place. That's for sure.
And then that comes on to the year 2021, the year of fruit and veg. Why this year? Why now? Because the timing, in some respects, Marcela, is amazing. In that we're all suffering this pandemic. But if there's going to be one upside from it, we can see, having had multiple conversations with colleagues in India and South Africa, in Europe and America, the sales of fresh produce are rising rapidly because people want to be healthier, because they know that's going to combat them against this current pandemic and, God forbid, future pandemics. So the timing is amazing. It's very fortuitous. But why this year to go live with the campaign for fruits and veg, please?
Of course, we didn't plan it. We were not expecting a pandemic like nobody else was. And so international years are, how do they come about? So there is one country or groups of countries or other forces within society, like civil society organizations, that get together, convince many others, bring it to the governing bodies, in this case of FAO. So it's analyzed in our governing bodies, and then it's sent to the UN headquarters in New York, in the General Assembly, and the General Assembly decides to declare an international year on the basis of whatever discussions have already been made and the evidence provided of the importance of this international year for the well-being of everybody. So in this case, it was the government of Chile who created a campaign, organized it for several years, convinced many others. It was immediately taken up as an important international year within the FAO, and also the General Assembly of the UN just immediately approved it too.
I love the Chileans. They're so. Not only is their fresh produce amazing, the marketing is amazing. We have this big event that in traditional years is held in February in Berlin called Fruit Logistica, and the Chileans have this. They basically book out a massive hall and have all of the fresh produce companies, and their sales technique, Marcela, is amazing and so simple. They just give you blueberries or strawberries to eat. So once you've eaten a Chilean blueberry or strawberry, there's absolutely no turning back. So they're voracious and their passion for the fresh produce. And it's fascinating. South America. If you look further up, the likes of Peru. Peru 25 years ago was not in a good state on an economic basis, and we did a recent broadcast about companies investing in fresh produce internationally, and the expert that we had on from South Africa, he made this very strong case about Peru, that they had a change of government and they realized that their route to success on an economic basis, and also to get them out of poverty, was to grow fresh produce. And so they invested in fresh produce infrastructure. They got external international experts in to help them plan irrigation systems and planting systems. And now Peru is a powerhouse globally in fresh produce, and the economy is doing so well, all on the back of fresh produce. And what are they growing? They're growing amazing fresh produce that makes us all feel fantastic and taste great. So it's excellent that the Chileans were the catalyst to get this going. I followed the live feeds as you all went live with the initiative in the new year, and I saw the Chilean section. I thought they were absolutely brilliant, because they were so proud, weren't they? That so we've set this up, but it's on a global basis. So success. Let's talk about success. What would you like the success for this campaign to be? Say at the end of this year, and say 3, 4, 5 years out. What will success look like, please?
Well, first, that we will all be consuming more fruits and vegetables. So, of course, the WHO, World Health Organization, has said that we have to consume 400 grams a day of fruits and vegetables, which can be also consumed as the 5 a day campaign, with portions of 80 grams each. But in any case, we have to increase consumption of fruits and vegetables fresh, and we have to increase production too. So what I would like to see is, aside from the strong increase in consumption and production, also having better policies that will help produce better, that will look into, for example, tax structures. Some countries tax fresh fruits and vegetables, and we would like to see those taxes gone, so that fruits and vegetables can become more affordable. Yeah. So you may know that today there's about 3 billion people in the world who cannot afford a healthy diet. And this is partly because of the costs of handling fresh fruits and vegetables. So we want to see better policies. We want to see commitment from governments too, so that they can reduce the cost for the actual end-line consumer. And the end-line consumer, like you and me, can increase drastically our consumption of fresh produce.
Fantastic.
We also want to see better management of fruits and vegetables to reduce waste, because there's a lot of waste in the chain of fruits and vegetables, or any fresh produce. Yeah. So part of the year is also to have more awareness on reduction of waste, and also reduction of loss during the production process of fresh fruits and vegetables.
Marcela, well done on the food waste bit, because I completely overlooked that, and we've got some brilliant organisations in the UK alone that will take surplus fresh produce from either suppliers or retailers to make sure that they're reshared in the likes of food banks. But there's a stats within the UK that 1.2 million bananas in the UK alone are thrown away every day. 1.2 million, and if you extrapolate that internationally. And it's because people don't understand the dynamics and the supply chain element of it, and that a banana that's come from Ghana or Ecuador, the journey it's been through, and it's such a valuable commodity, and it can't just be thrown out if it looks a little bit brown on the outside, because so much can be done.
Right. Or if it does, or if it's not perfect. So people are used to eating bananas that have exactly the same shape, carrots that have exactly the same shape. Yeah. But the others taste exactly as good, and people tend to not buy them in the first place. So part of the year is also that much more awareness in terms of, we don't want to throw out food just because it's not aesthetically according to something that somebody has in their mind. We want to make sure that everybody is able to increase their nutrition, increase the strength of their immune system, because this is also very important, especially during this year, through more consumption of fruits and vegetables. And quite frankly, they don't need to have a certain shape to be good for our nutrition and for our immune system.
There you go. Well said. And do you think we should, how do I counter this one? Slightly drive societal change, societal behaviour. Now, I'm thinking back to the issues with tobacco, that we realised that use of tobacco was not good for us on the long term. And so globally, we started to tax tobacco and put health warnings on tobacco. Sugary foods, there's a massive global industry out there. Do you think we should be looking to educate those manufacturers of that food to reduce the sugar levels, and actually perhaps get involved in fresh produce, to move away from sugary foods and get involved? Is there something that the UN, the FAO can assist with to try and guide those companies and the consumer?
Well, let's go back to Chile once again. They have a fantastic labeling law that took them about 10 years to get through. But today, the labeling law in Chile requires that any sugary, any product, processed product, of course, not fresh, processed product that is high in fat, in sugar, or in salt, has to display a black sign in front of the package, very clearly visible, that just very clearly says high in fat, high in sugar, or high in salt. And so people can buy it right there, understanding what they're buying. Wow. Now, that law is also very interesting because it forbids the publicity of any product that's high on any of these during the time when children watch TV. So, and they also forbid putting in little toys or things into packages that will create an incentive for children to want to buy that and to eat that if it's bad for their health, like, for example, too high in sugar.
Yep. Marcela, that's fascinating. And I wasn't aware of that in Chile. In the likes of the UK and Europe, we have packaging with, say, fat and sugar levels on that you need glasses on to read.
And hopefully a PhD to understand.
Yes, exactly. But we're very excited because our UK Prime Minister, one of the reasons that he stated that he fell ill during the pandemic was because he was overweight, and he now wants us not to be a nation of fatties. And so we can see that there's going to be changes within our health structure here, and we're hoping, especially with the examples of the likes of the one that you kind of gave from Chile, that we'll see a replication of that. So the consumer driving this societal change, the consumer will move towards more fresh produce. And on a number of these broadcasts, Marcela, we found that companies are stating that the consumer is now so aware that eating fresh produce is good for us, that they're bored of that message. It's now about taste and flavor. So to have an amazing apple or Chilean blueberry rather than a biscuit or a chocolate bar, once people have eaten that and they've seen the brand and they've seen the retailer they buy it from, all this research shows that they'll just buy and buy again. But we just got to get them to eat that first Chilean blueberry or that first British apple from the start. So that's what I'm hoping will happen with your campaign. And coming back to the campaign, I gave that example of the Americans, and some of them just only been aware of it a month ago. What can we, within the trade, within the fresh produce trade internationally, how can we adopt your campaign and push it out within the trade into our consumer? How can we help you?
First of all, like what we're doing right now, talk about it. Make sure that people know about it. Make sure that the message goes out, that it goes out into schools, that children understand how important it is to have fresh fruits and vegetables in their daily diet. If they understand this, many times they're going to request it from their parents. Get the message out with as many audiences as possible. So what we do from our international year kind of headquarters here in Rome is to have all of our FAO country offices promote it with a number of different audiences, with civil society, with academia, with private sector, with as many audiences as they can get to. Ensure that all of our programs also in terms of school feeding, which are big in worldwide, especially for the poorer countries, that they adopt fruits and vegetables as part of these programs, that they hopefully buy from local family farmers. Wow. Is also very important. And also that the message goes out to children worldwide how good these are for their own health and their own future. As they're in learning environments, they need to have what they need to be able to learn well, including fruits and vegetables.
Marcela, you're great. You're fantastic, because you're reminding me of things that I need to highlight. With the ITC International Trade Center and She Trades, they have an overarching global campaign to get more women involved on a smallholder basis, and we've helped them with a number of broadcasts, and we've met some amazing ladies we met a lady called Yvonne who takes waste avocado and makes it into avocado oil and sells that into UK and European retailers. And she employs, she employs 900 women, and she's made all of those women independent, financially independent by processing waste avocados. And there's another lady that we've had a conversation with. I think she might be actually listening in. Nina Patel from Fresh Express in India, and she has over 1,000 smaller growers that she looks after, and the majority of those are women growing the most fantastic Indian grapes and raisins, again being sold back into the UK and Europe. And all of those 1,000 smallholders are now all financially independent, and it's all grown on an organic basis. So, so that again, Marcela, to get that message out to the consumer, that if they're buying Nina's Indian grapes or Yvonne's avocado oil, the cascade effect down is doing so much good. Is there anything more that we, all of us, the FAO, the UN, can do to publicize that story about these amazing people? Should we be coming onto the FAO social media feeds to find out about? Are you posting such stories up? Do you know?
Yes, of course. These stories are fundamental, especially, well, in the context of the year. We want to hear as much as as we can of these stories. We'll put them up, we'll give them publicity. And also within our other work in the UN. We have to remind ourselves that in regions of the world like Africa, more than 50% of the agricultural workforce is women. And for women, the employment is 80% in agriculture in Africa. So, but women don't get what they need to be productive. They don't get the land rights, especially, but then everything else is going much more to men than to women. Like, for example, the credit, the information, the extension services, everything that they need to be productive. So if countries invest in women's productivity in agriculture, that is going to make the world change. And I'm really happy that you have these wonderful stories that we will, of course, help publicize.
Fantastic. And I have to highlight a group that we love and we promote called Global Women Fresh, because they introduced us to the ITC and She Trade. So they introduced us to Nina. And what you've just stated is basically the motto, the mission statement, that they want to get more women involved and to be independently involved in their own rights. And this is from the field.
Women's economic empowerment is something that we work on here in FAO. So in the rural areas, women need to be empowered, and that empowerment comes, among other things, from economic empowerment. If they have an economic independence, then they will be able to send their children to school, which is high in their priorities. They will be able to negotiate their ways into processes, political processes at local level. They will be able to make the decisions that will govern their own lives. So here again, women's economic independence is fundamental part of development, and we are in the business of development.
Fantastic. How do we counter this one? We have 72 million people in the UK. We always refer to a young lady with 2-3 kids in a 2-bedroom flat in the East End of London, and it's how do we get to her? How do we get this fresh produce message to her? And it's something that we've always struggled on, that those of say a higher income will know how to shop properly, but it's sometimes very difficult for that lady and that family to shop properly on a healthy basis. What would your advice be as to how we as a trade can make contact with them so they'll buy more fresh produce?
Right. So one of the problems that we're facing today is that fresh produce, as we said before, is expensive relatively, and it's much cheaper to buy foods that are not good for you. Ultra processed packaged foods that are very high in fat and sugar. I mean, and those are pretty much inexpensive in relation to the fresh produce. So here again is my point about, and this is what we do in the UN. We work together with the countries to ensure that the policies that they have are right in order to provide the right incentives so that, for example, fresh produce could be more affordable. Once it's affordable, that person as you were mentioning, with difficulties and feeding and taking food to her home, to a single mother with few children at home that she has to care for, if it's affordable, she's going to want it. She's
Yes.
going to want it because at the same time, she is the first person who will want to have the best life for her children and to have her children have healthy lives. But sometimes it's just out of reach, but it's because it's simply not affordable.
Yeah, well said. And I did a school presentation after I came back from doing a motorbike trip from London to Cape Town to promote fresh produce, and I did this mad school presentation with my motorbike, and all the kids came up to me, and I was giving them a pink lady apple at the end, and one child refused to have an apple, and he was aged 10 or 11, and I asked the teacher to put him to one side, and when I got to him, I opened up the apple with my penknife, and I gave him a slice of the apple, and he'd never had a piece of apple before.
And he loved it.
But the worst thing, Marcela, was that he'd had a can of energy drink for breakfast. And so through the school, we found the family address, and we sent them 2 cartons of pink lady apples. So what's that, 160 apples? And the mum came into the school the next week to see the headmaster in tears because she knew that she'd been feeding her kids poorly. They'd had a family barbecue. A man turned up with all these apples. They've all been eating these. They all ate these apples over the weekend, and now they can't stop eating apples. And so he was thanking us, which is ridiculous, really, but for getting their family to enjoy apples for the first time properly. And it comes back to what we were saying about the Chileans. It's all about the taste. So if we can get that mum in that flat in East London or Belgium or Cape Town or Joburg to consume and eat it and understand.
Right. Also, for example, in the packaging, as we were saying before, people need to have an easy way of understanding what they are buying.
Yeah.
So many times sometimes also some products that are nicely packaged seem to be healthy or they're marketed as healthy. But when you go into and you look into the back of a difficult to understand sign, and also you need glasses, which you normally don't have when you're in the supermarket.
And your PhD as well. Yeah.
Right. And then you realize that this is very high in sugar and very high in salt, for example. And then so it's not really healthy, even if it seems like nice oat cookies or something like that. So make it easy for people to understand what they're eating, what they're buying, and especially what they're feeding their children. Yep. So the outcome in Chile with that law, and now we're promoting that from FAO, we're promoting it in many other countries. But one of the outcomes of the law is that parents are now buying differently for their children, thanks to understanding in a very easy way. But for them, they say, well, I can eat more fat or something, but it's my choice. But for my children, I'm going to buy the healthier things. That's one thing. And the other part of the impact of that law is that the private sector themselves have wanted to try to remove some of these labels from the front part of their packages. And so they're wanting to produce products that are more healthy.
Fantastic. So Marcela, you're confident with what you've set up with the FAO and the UN and with as much trade involvement internationally as possible that we can all make a success of the International Year of Fruit and Vegetables. You're positive.
I'm absolutely positive, and I really want to thank you because this is exactly what the year is about. To be able to get the message out as much as possible and to try to join our efforts to ensure that at the end of the year and for the rest of our lives, we'll be eating much more fruits and vegetables, fresh, and also healthy foods.
Fantastic. Before we wrap up, I need to ask a very big favor of you. We've got a lovely company in the UK that grows the most amazing watercress called the Watercress Company. And every time we get one of our experts to say, I love watercress, they donate to one of their local charities, and it helps them a little bit because they grow amazing watercress. So do you like watercress, Marcela?
Well, I love watercress, I must say.
Fantastic. But apart from watercress, what's your favorite fresh produce?
Mango.
But
mango in every one of its forms, yes, and with all of its different kinds, because here in Italy, in Europe, we get mangoes they all look the same, as if there were one species only of mango. But go to a country that produces mango and you'll find the tiny, it's not tiny, it's about this big, and they're called sugar mangoes, mango de azúcar, sugar mango. And it's as sweet as you would not believe what you're tasting. Then you have the bigger one, then you have the longer one, then you have the rounder one, then you have the ones that you want to eat when they're still green with your salad, etc., etc. There's a lot of variety, and this is also part of the year. We need to diversify our diets, and we also need to diversify within the diets that we eat, the different kinds. For example, bananas. The world eats mostly one kind of banana. We have 300,000 different varieties of bananas, genetically speaking, but we tend to eat one and only one, and they all look the same in every part of the world. So diversify too.
Fantastic. Marcela, one of our companies, one of our partners, VitaFresh, is a very big exporter out of South America into the UK and European markets. And they've just WhatsApped me to say, would you like a job as the mango expert? Because you're fantastic.
Mangoes to eat all year? Yes.
Fantastic. So if you ever want to give up the day job, we've got you sorted as the international mango expert. We'll get you in front of every conference, every
international mango eater, more than expert.
Excellent. I'd just like to thank all of our partners who've enabled us to be here today to create this platform, Beanstalk Global, to interview Marcela from the FAO UN. I think if we could all get behind this campaign, it's going to do so much difference. And Marcela, I think it's been a fascinating conversation because it's going to help businesses on a commercial basis, but we're all in a sector that's doing good. So what a great place to be, that we can do good and create businesses that are also doing good as well, as per the examples that we went through. Marcela, thank you very much for your time. Let's see if we can all come together even more so to really back this out of the park and see if we can raise fresh produce consumption on an international basis and do good by doing it.
Thank you so very much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for the efforts you are doing to promote eating healthier. Thank you.
And Marcela, thank you very much to your colleague Laura for sorting this call all out. Thank you.
I'll transmit that to her. Thank you.
Keep safe. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.